Welcome to the first episode of Nattabox, and it's with me, Jaki Graham. It's taken about a year to get to this point, so I thought, right, for the first episode, who am I going to have on? And it made sense off the back of International Women's Day recently and Mother's Day recently, and the fact that my wonderful mom is an international soul sensation. Then first guest is Jaki Graham, aka Mom. Hello.
Hiya, baby.
Welcome to Nattabox.
How international, you know.
Is this weird?
Oh, very.
Do you like my setup?
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice indeed, yes.
Are you feeling nice and zen?
Oh, yes. I'm just wondering when I can sip the wine.
Oh, you can. Okay, there we go then. Cheers.
First podcast then. Cheers.
Yes, cheers.
Over.
There we go.
Ooh, that's nice.
Right. So,
International Women's Day.
Yes.
That's been brilliant, isn't it?
Yep.
There's some wonderful people out there.
Yep.
And I think, it's not just, I think it's for every mother and every woman. You know, when whether they're working and they're bringing up the family on their own, or whether they're just in general trying to make ends meet and do things. I think that shout out to all women, because all women are strong. And if you don't feel you're strong, you know that there's somebody next to you that is, whether it be your mother, your friend, or whoever it may be. There's always some help there. If you feel the pressure's on you and you just can't cope, there's always a strong person out there for you.
I love the fact I've not even asked you a question yet.
Oh, sorry.
No, that Dad's going to...
I know.
I can see Dad's looking as if to say, Jesus, she hasn't even asked you anything yet. So, this is going to be entertaining. But no, I mean, that's a nice point you've just made as well. So do you consider yourself to be a strong woman?
You know, something I never really did. We being brought up by my grandmother. So, and I thought my granny was a really strong woman. Okay, and she took myself and my brother on when my dad died and became our guardian, legal guard. But to me, she was a strong woman.
She was a hard woman as well.
Oh, she's a very tough woman. And she'd work nights but she had us on tow and we were like council kids because we didn't have a parent as such. She became, like I said, she became our legal guardian when my dad died. So we were sort of under the umbrella of the welfare kids.
Right.
And so because of working nights and stuff and doing her nursing and so on, we always had to have somebody to look after us, and because so in effect I'm talking about a single parent. That's what I'm talking about, and so like I said, under the umbrella of the social workers and stuff like that, it was hard for her, and they would sort of honor her case all the time because we were two kids left on our own at night, but we had some great neighbors and stuff. So when I said about calling on people to help, And back in those days, we used to live in a house where we would have to rent a room, and so we had neighbours downstairs that would be a family neighbour with their kids and so on. So when Granny went to work, it meant that she had to then look after. She'd ask the neighbours then to keep an eye on us, check on us, and so on.
So is this like for some of the older listeners? Then is this like I'm picturing? Is it Rising Damp?
Yes.
In that kind of a setup where you had everybody in one house, but.
And you'd have to share the kitchen and bathroom and that kind of thing. And you basically, you pay for the room that you're living in, basically.
So just to backtrack, because obviously you mentioned that great granny was responsible for looking after you because your dad died. So your dad passed from cancer when you were 10.
That's right.
Your mom left your dad and you guys when you were about 5?
5-ish, yeah.
And I think it always said that there was nothing but a wedding ring and a box of cigarettes left on the table.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that as a child, coming back from home thinking, well, where's mom? And just seeing the wedding ring and a box of cigarettes.
So your dad really was like a single dad?
Yes, he was, yeah.
Until the point where he got diagnosed with cancer. Can you remember what cancer he had?
I honestly don't know. I honestly don't know. I was so young. I really don't know. Some stomach thing I think he had.
Right.
But my grandmother, which is my mother's mother.
Right.
Your great granny. She's mum's mother.
Yeah.
picked up the slack, basically. And at that time, for a few years, we lived in London. So it meant that when Granny had time off, from work and so on, she would end up coming down to London, like school holidays and stuff, and then to look after us. And then when there was a break or something, we would have to travel back up to Birmingham, even though
because you're Birmingham born and bred.
Born and bred, yeah.
Dudley Road Hospital.
Yeah. So for I think a couple of 3 years, we ended up going down to London to live, but then I ended up coming back because Granny took the slack up, and nobody knew where Mum was. So for all intents and purposes, that's what happened, and that's how Granny became our legal guardian.
So what did you think then in terms of not knowing where your mum was or why she'd even left?
Well, I think the pressure was on Dad at that time because he was, my younger brother was about 3 years old and I was, as I said, 5. And he used to be working, going to work. And then in that scenario again, he lived down in London in a rented house.
Right.
And he rented a room in the house, and there was a family downstairs that he would.
Is this Cranwich?
Cranwich Road.
Cranwich Road,
yeah. And he and the neighbour downstairs, Mrs. Ears, she had 5 children, and she would then take up and look after us and make sure that we was all right at night.
Okay.
No, during the day because he would be at work. So it meant that getting to school was something else. So for me to go to school on my own at a 5-year-old down the road, round the corner, which I remember I showed you how, for a young child to do that. And then he tried to find somebody that
and
would
it was quite a way as well because when was it Hackney?
Yes, Stoke Newington. That's right.
Yes, I don't even know what I don't know what that was.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Stoke Newington.
Yeah.
And when we did a little drive-by,
we did that.
I'm thinking it was from sort of here to like the end of a drive or something, but it was a proper. It was a proper.
Until we went, Natalie found it for us. The number 1 Cranwich Road is where I used to live, in Stoke Newington, and doing that walk, and I'm thinking as a child, it didn't seem so far. Well, I mean, like I was only 5, so I really don't understand what was going on. But looking back now, for a child to be walking in the streets on their own, at that distance,
as well,
for that distance.
Well, bearing in mind when me and Ryan were at school, we had the luxury of we didn't have to go and catch buses
and was your taxi,
deal with the elements. Dad would drop you off and pick you up, come rain, sleet, or snow.
Yeah.
So that's why when you showed me, I just thought I couldn't comprehend, and like you said, because of the distance and again because of age.
See, even when I think about it now, to me it's literally down the road around the corner, but it wasn't. When we did that walk, I'm thinking and I said to you at the time, can you imagine as a 5-year-old child having to do this walk? And no, we never thought about danger or anything like that, and we did. But nowadays you wouldn't entertain a child doing that.
No. It
wouldn't be, that was the last thing in your mind for a child to do that distance.
Yeah.
Yeah, so and then we'd obviously come back from school, and then Mrs. Ears would look after us for a little while until Dad got home and so on. But then as he got more ill, he tried to get somebody in to look after us, like live in.
And didn't it break him as well when your mum left him?
Oh, definitely. Because
it was Henry and Henrietta.
Yeah.
That was your mum and dad's name.
Yeah. Yeah, everybody knew her as Ivy, but we knew her as Henrietta, yeah.
Right.
But when he was, to see that ring, and I think his main worry was, how is he going to bring up 2 kids on his own, having to work and make sure that they're safe and everything.
And they came over in the Windrush, didn't they?
Oh, yeah.
That was they sort of came for that, the dream.
That's
in the early 50s-ish?
Yeah. Well, initially when they came over, obviously we all lived in Birmingham. I was born in Birmingham and everything. He had a house in Birmingham, in Ersbury Garden.
Right.
So that was his, from how I was growing up listening to people talk about, he had his own house in Ersbury Garden, or maybe he rented the house, but it was just for the family, for us as a family. And then all of a sudden now he has to go now and rent a room elsewhere because Mum wanted to go down to live in London.
Right.
And my grandmother came to UK 2 weeks before I was born. So Granny,
to help look after you.
I think that's what it was.
Right.
I think that's what it was at the time. But Mum wanted to go. And Mum had friends and other people down in London. And I think she wanted to be near.
Yeah.
So with that respect, I think that's why she badgered Dad to go down to London to live. And which he then said, all right, and that's what happened. But we had to rent our own, a room, not our own property, a room in somebody's house to enable us. And then obviously working hard, trying to save some money, maybe to get his own little place or whatever, which is what the intention was.
Right.
Because, coming to the UK was supposed to be a good life for them. Yeah. But it didn't really work out that way. His mum left and then he took ill. And then it meant that Granny picked up the slack. And so we had to keep commuting. And she would commute down to London. We would commute up to Birmingham. And then until eventually, Dad didn't make it. And Granny had to become our legal guardian because nobody knew where Mum was still.
Right.
So that was a good, good 5 years later.
Right.
Yeah, because I think it was about 10 when we came back to Birmingham to live.
Right, okay.
So schooling and everything else was an issue. We never really got much schooling and stuff because we had to, be up and down between, London and Birmingham.
Right.
So and then eventually we settled. She managed to get us into a school once she knew that we were now going to be residing in Birmingham, in Lozells. And we ended up getting settled in there until the council gave us a place. And I must have been, because she rented that one room for years. And I think we must have been about, 10, 11, 12-ish when we got our own council place.
Right. Was that Heathrow Road?
No, this was Linwood Road off the Soho Road.
Right.
And so she had her own, which to Granny then was a palace because, she had her own dwelling. Upstairs, downstairs, kitchen, bathroom was all hers.
And were your uncles there at that point as well?
Yeah, my uncles was a big part of it because my
Headley and Vincent.
Yeah, they were a big part of it. Yeah, because I think they were always around. So as males growing up to have male influences and stuff in our lives, they were close. They were close. So for Granny, obviously what she needed and what she wanted and stuff. At least the lads were there, and could pick up the slack. Well, the younger uncle was a free spirit. I mean, they had their own, their own little place as well, and their own family as well that they were dealing with. But they were always close, always nearby.
So in terms of that sort of that strong influence, then really it was Great Granny.
Yeah. She was a rock. Yeah, when I said
that's
she was
the one
fierce,
that sort of turned you into a soldier.
Oh my God. But I think it's just the way, West Indian families are. The women did what they had to do. I think she brought up her kids as a single mother too.
Right. Of how many?
I think that there were 6 of them. I think she had 6. My mom was the only girl. So she had 5 boys and 1 girl. And she would have been one of the elder ones. I think where she came down in the right pecking order, I think she would be maybe the second. Okay. Uncle Vincent probably was the eldest. Right. And then it came Mom. And then it was the other uncles that I didn't know, and the youngest uncle was Uncle Headley. Right. So that's and so the other 3 uncles I didn't know, or 2 uncles I'm not sure how it went. The West Indian people, and plus I never went there, and I didn't really know the family. And it's only so most of what you hear I'm talking about now is probably hearsay. When Granny was talking to her friends or other cousins and stuff like that, or elders that were around. So, you get to pick up the stories, the odds and sods of stories and stuff like that. So why she never went back to Jamaica, I don't know. That's another story again. But we then became her world. After bringing up her own children, fled the nest, and Granny was quite a hip Granny. So she would went on a nights off from from nursing, she would go partying and blues parties and that kind of thing. So she was a free spirit. And then all of a sudden now she's lumbered with 2 kids that she has to make adjustments for. And that must have been a big turning point for her again, to start again at her time of life with 2 kids having to bring up. So it must have been heavy duty for her, really, really. And yeah, like I said, we had the welfare people that had to come into play, because Daddy was down in London, and then having to keep commuting and stuff like that. He had to make sure that these people knew that we were on our own and we had to travel on our own and that kind of thing. So that's they were a big part in us growing up as well.
So can you remember, again, coming back to sort of, I suppose, strength and overcoming things, can you remember when your dad died and what that felt like, and not having your mom there to be able to turn to? Is it something that you missed or you thought about?
As a child,
or was it just the norm?
It was the norm, yeah, and it was just a big loss for us, because Dad was our world, and we thought we'd always get back to being with Dad. Granny was so hard, and for when you're youngsters and stuff like that, thinking, I'd rather my daddy look after us and stuff like that, because she
used to dread having to go to Birmingham then and before he passed.
Yeah, she would. She was heavy duty, but she was good for us, and and looking back, she was the best thing for us. And if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be the kind of person I am today. So in that respect. But feeling sad that Dad was now, and that's the first loss we'd ever had in our lives. So as youngsters, having to cope with that and deal with that, that's where my gran and my 2 uncles then picked up the slack, and they were always there. So it's just something that you had to get on with. It was life, and that's the way it was. He's gone, but he's still with us in a sense.
And I think I've said this to you before, because when you describe great granny and Dad, when Dad describes her as well, and Dad's always said that she's one of the best things for you, because just to put it into to context, the people who don't know about your sort of your personal history, then you and Dad have been together for, what did you say earlier on? It's 50, coming 51. Up to 52 years, 51 years. You've been together for 51 years, married for 48 years this year. You met at school.
That's right.
You were the prefect in the year above him.
Yes.
He used to skip school most of the time, or go and nick the teachers' cars and drive around the block, or whatever it was he used to do.
He was, yes. He was a bit of a lad.
He said that that Granny was key into how sort of you turned out as well. But also, Dad had to overcome things when it came to great Granny, because Dad's obviously a white Irishman from 14 of 15 kids.
Yeah.
Which, and as, what was it Granny said when she found out? Or
she said, how many brothers and sisters you got? And Tony said, and he said that, I said, from one father.
How did she say it though?
From one father.
I was going to say.
And he says, pardon? He didn't understand the question, but yes. Because, my uncles and aunts, Granny's kids, I think there were probably 3 different dads.
Right.
So, there's always different partners. So it's different siblings.
So many.
Yeah, and in my family as well, I've got like an eldest, God rest her soul. She passed a couple of years ago, but she was one dad, and then there's 3 of us Grahams.
Yeah.
And there's other two that I met along the way.
Well, that's what obviously brings back round. We haven't got back to that particular bit when your mum sort of did reappear and obviously had 2 brand new children in tow. But again, just the whole great granny being hard. I've always said to you, how or where do you get your warmth and your loving nature from? And I know Dad's probably standing there.
Me. Yeah, right.
Because you are a very strong woman. Yeah. But I've always said you weren't raised like me and Ryan. We've been raised with nothing but love, affection. Don't get me wrong, when obviously we get into trouble. And the sort of the discipline kicks in. But otherwise, we've been raised with hugs and kisses and, being put to bed from you and Dad. And obviously, Dad, I mean, Dad's got his own story himself in terms of he's sort of really close to obviously Nan. But he had the sort of confrontations all the time with his he used to get battered by Granddad, which to me is like amazing to hear or to even think about, because it's not the man that I remember.
No.
So where did your nurturing nature come from? Because you've got a fan base as well, and your connection with the people who love not just your music, but you as a person, the connection that you've got with everybody, you just ooze this nurturing, loving, genuine warmth.
You know something? I've thought about this throughout the years. I really don't know where it came from, because Granny wouldn't.
Granny sounds cold.
Yeah. And I remember as I got married, and obviously, you know, having you and that sort of thing, and then going back to Granny, because we used to go back and make sure that everything was all right, and do a washing for her and a laundry, and I'd give her a bath and that kind of thing in between doing what, you know, whether working in the offices and stuff like that, or do semi-pro or whatever it is. We had to make sure that she was all right. Okay, so the two uncles would do that, and their ladies would do that. By this time now, I've moved out, but I would still go back and do, you know, what I need to tidy up the house or whatever I needed to do. Now, and I remember going back and also greeting Granny as I greet everybody. I greet everybody with a love, and maybe for the first time going up to Granny and saying, you know, good evening, Granny, or hello, Granny, and hugging her and giving her a peck, and she would be like, because you know she wasn't used to that. Where that came from, for the life of me, I don't know. Because it wasn't something I was brought up doing.
So it wasn't a conscious thing that I'm going to do this because
to soften her somehow.
I've lacked. What's Dad wrote? What have you just seen? Oh, it's you. He's claiming it again. Dad's claiming it.
No, because your daddy wasn't a touchy-feely kind of person.
His dad never used to say boo-to.
No, he wasn't one of those. He wasn't quite those clingy kind of guys either. So,
did you ever hug great granny dad?
No.
Oh, shame. Did you ever try? No. Not once.
No. And then he'd come in and say, "Good evening, Miss Ross." You know, and I don't think he did.
Say again?
Very touchy-feely with her behind the stage.
Oh, Dad!
No, she wasn't. She wasn't that kind of a person. But
what about with me?
No, it's not.
Really?
She wouldn't. She wouldn't hug and love the kids and them. She did. She in her own little way. She, you have this or feed you or something like that. I mean, I think the love from Granny would be she'd feed you. You call me a feeder.
Who used to put something on my dummy?
Oh, because you never slept or nothing.
Was that great granny?
That was Gran. No, that was Mom.
Okay.
Mom.
And what was it?
Probably brandy or something.
Right.
Just put it in there, whether you be teething or something or whatever it is. Just dip it in there. Anyway, but no, Granny showed love maybe in how she fed you and on
because people used to buy her food as well, didn't they? They used to travel from all over Birmingham to come and...
She used to bake patties. She used to cook patties and bake cakes and all that kind of thing. And that's on a Saturday.
Right.
So a Saturday and Sunday, she would then take this basket of patties and stuff and sell it. Or some people come to the house and pick up their little stash of patties and gazadas.
She used to send Dad home.
Oh, yes.
With a heap of patties.
Yeah. So give it to your family. Have your family try some, Would they like to taste the patties and stuff like that? Oh, yeah.
You can do Granny in the accent. You won't get Dad. Because I know Dad's sitting there saying, now speak English so everybody can understand you. Don't just slip into your Jamaican, but yes.
She would. She said, Tony, you think your mommy and daddy would like some patties? Oh, yes, yeah. Oh, yeah. And with obviously the siblings and that like that. So she would give him some patties and stuff like that.
But they wouldn't make them home.
They never.
Did you eat them literally all on the way home?
Mm-mm. Yeah, on the bus.
Because you lived in Handsworth
and he lived.
Dad lived in Ladywood. So again, because we're just fast forwarding, like I said, I haven't even got to any of the main questions before here. Liam, shout out to Liam, who's doing all the filming.
Darling,
we're going like, right, these are the key questions over the course of the podcast. I want to make sure that I get from all the guests. So we'll get around to them. But I've always found your story very fascinating, and anyone who's heard it has as well. So we're kind of fast forwarding, and this is one of the reasons why there is a book that's going to be coming. But at the same time, backtracking to Dad and being this little skinny white Irish boy, you two got together at school at a time where black and white didn't mix.
No,
really,
no.
when it came to that. Maybe at that era, then but it was more so probably a black man with a white woman.
Yeah.
And not a black woman with a white man.
That's right.
So I think that was probably one of the other sort of main stigmas. And obviously from that era, it was sort of no blacks, no dogs, no Irish.
Oh, yeah.
So from the
Windrush time right to the 60s, coming up to, and we're now talking about 70s now.
Right.
But this racial sort of divide, and I lived in a heavily black populated area. Your daddy was more the Irish area and stuff like that, so it was white. But there was an affinity with the Irish community, and I think a black and Irish community, right? But it was still not the thing. So for a black girl to be going out with a white guy, and the thing is, my granny was, as I keep saying, she's very strict. So I was not allowed out anyway. So our going out together was your daddy coming to our house 7 nights a week.
Right.
Once she said, well, there's somebody.
But how did you feel before you'd even got to the stage of introducing him to Great Granny? What was your thought process then in terms of, did you even think, I don't know if I should do this?
No,
It
was a no.
Straight, even at school?
So I would keep my distance. But Tony would come and follow me.
Dad, you were persistent.
Walk me home to a point.
Don't make him like you anymore, Dad.
And then, and then on a Saturday I used to work in a little shop, a corner shop, and then he'd come down and he'd sit across the wall and waited for me to finish and stuff like that. But I think I don't know how. At one point, it was a birthday party I think he came to, and there was it young Tony's birthday party? Yeah, which is my younger brother.
Right.
Youngest brother.
Yeah.
All right. And they'd done a little birthday party for him. So I was able to introduce some of my friends to my granny, okay? Some of the girls she knew, but the lads, them she didn't know, okay? And that's how I suppose she got to know, and then he'd come up to our area and we'd go around the back. When I said, no, sorry, I rephrased that. Where we used to live, there was a fire escape, and you could see the houses at the back, and he would be sitting on the wall and the houses at the back of our house.
Just waiting for her.
Yeah, waiting for me to go in.
Oh, Dad.
And then all of us, and so in that respect, it's like, who does she keep going out and who is who? And eventually she said, bring him in. Basically, that's how it happened.
Were you nervous, Dad?
Yeah, because her mum was there as well at that time.
Yeah.
So okay, because
so this is where mum was.
So you started to get to know each other and got together, and just as your mum
came back on
reappeared.
the scene. Yeah.
And so, what is it? She'd heard that Grandad had died.
I think she wanted to reach out by this time now, and heard that my dad had passed and everything else, and was maybe moving in the circles where people know her now.
Okay.
It turns out she was living in Sheffield.
Right.
But she came. I remember sitting around with my auntie Little. That was my auntie Little nickname. Okay. Which was Headley's, my youngest uncle's lady.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And we were all in the living room, and Little was doing my hair. And this doorbell rang, and my brother Con went downstairs, answered the door, came up and said, there's a lady coming to Granny's, and said, there's a lady that, said that she'd like to speak to you. Who is it? With that, the lady had followed him. He said, come, and he'd followed him up. And in the living room we were, off the living room was the kitchen. So she had to come through the living room to go to see Granny at the kitchen.
Right.
And as she walked into the living room, my auntie Little said, "Who's that?" And I said, and for some reason I'm thinking, she looks familiar. And I said, I think it's my mom.
Wow.
So remember, I hadn't seen her since I was about 5. And by this time I would be about 12, 13-ish maybe.
Well, be 14 if dad's sort of
because it's a good
couple
of years, I suppose.
Okay.
Before your daddy came into play. But yes, and with that, it was just a load of wailing going on.
What, from great granny?
Yeah, granny couldn't speak. She just, as soon as she met this lady, and it's like, she was on her knees and she was just howling and wailing and between the two of them and crying and it's all right, everything's all right, But yeah, it seemed like a good hour and a half or something. Nothing really was being said. It was just crying. Where have you been? And and that kind of thing. So
and did she have the 2 kids with her?
Well, so in the car, outside was Sonny, which was her partner,
right?
And the kid's dad and two children, and they're in the car. So they were sitting in the car for a good hour and a half or whatever before. Okay. It was like, I've got somebody that I'd like you to meet, she said. And with that, they came in. She said, "Who is it?" And they came in and introduced them.
And you've got a brand new. You and Uncle Con, are there, and then in walks two other kids.
Yeah.
And you've got a brand new brother and sister who at that stage would have been about how old?
I think Tony was about 7.
Right.
And Jennifer would have been, 5-ish. Something like that.
Can you remember, did you feel anything at the time?
No, I'm just overwhelmed by, the way Granny was howling and crying and carrying on and that kind of thing. I'm thinking, what? And Little obviously was there and trying to calm her down.
And is that why it turned out that she left?
Well, we're all surmising that was probably what happened. She had got together with Sonny somehow in London.
She didn't leave because she was pregnant by him at that stage, but
I don't know whether that was the case, because from how they were working out, it was a good 7 or 8 years that she wasn't around.
Yeah.
And then that's the summary. That's what everybody was, assuming that was happening.
Is it something you've ever thought about since then? Just in terms of she left or she left us? Because like I said, I can't. Again, the family unit that we've been raised in, I'm very grateful for because there's a solidarity there that I think a lot of people haven't necessarily grown up with. So I can't imagine. I'm trying to imagine if one of you had disappeared and then you turn back up umpteen years later and you've got other kids.
Yeah.
In my mind it's now, hard, probably because I'm obviously as an adult, I'll be sitting there thinking, well, hold on a second, you've put the time into them. What about where were you when we needed you when Dad passed? Or was there any of those thoughts, or again, you didn't really have the opportunity to think about that because of Granny or because of Great Granny?
Great Granny for me was my mom. Okay,
right.
For all intents and purposes, she was, and I think growing up, mother and daughter don't always get on and things like that. And then the boys always came first with Granny. And I think, there was a little bit of that going on. So it's not, I don't think Granny was the kind of person you could run to and talk to,
right?
Even as a parent. But the boys then got on really all right with Granny, for whatever reason. Now, when you think about her being coming back on the scene, and me being that much older and being able and as throughout the years I did ask her why and what happened and I'd ask her and she would tell me. She just said her and Dad didn't get on and whatever it is. But I know for a child looking at what my parents' relationship was like back then, I remember I'm only 5, I don't know nothing.
Yeah.
I thought he worshipped the ground she walked on.
Right.
And so when that man was in turmoil and when we saw it as children, when Mum had gone, although he's trying to make it, an easier place for us.
Yeah, he was
without
hurting.
Mum, he was hurting.
Yeah.
And as a child, I knew that.
Okay.
And I think that's and Granny picked up on that, and she would try to help him in every way because she loved my dad.
Right.
All right. So they would try and pick up that in every step of the way. I don't know. She was hard and. She was really hard, and I don't think she ever forgave Mum for it. And
Right,
I
okay.
know she never forgave Mum for it. And it would cause arguments every now and again when they were together, once they got back into each other. But Granny was never a Mum's fan.
Right.
She was never my mum's biggest fan.
So they were never huggy.
No.
Was your mum more affectionate?
I think she probably was. Yeah.
Did you ever hug? Yeah.
Yeah.
Chest like her.
Oh, God. It's a good job you can't hear what this man's saying.
They probably can.
Oh dear.
Poor Liam. Liam, I'm so sorry.
Very, very different to the grand.
Yeah, she was.
That's where she gets it from.
So is that where she gets her warmth from?
Maybe then.
It's-
Maybe.
even though she wasn't around, it's
Maybe then, because I mean,
It was in the genes. It was, yeah.
yeah, and yeah, I don't really remember mummy being physical.
And your dad
but
was affectionate.
as a child, that's how
what you remember.
That's how I remember. So I don't know. When you're so young, there's certain things I can remember, and certain things I don't. But I was close to Dad, and I think we myself and my brother Con were very close to Dad, and I think he, in his own little way, he was trying to protect us and shelter us, and as parents would do. But knowing that his thing was that I didn't have a mother, and as a girl child, as he was,
Yeah.
and I think that's what Granny resented even more so.
Right.
Why didn't she take me and leave Con?
Right. Okay.
If she had to do something like that, why didn't she do that? But to leave your two children, I think that cut deeply with them,
Right.
with both of them. So so when Mum was back on the scene and she had Sonia and she got the Tony and Jennifer, I don't think Granny ever got back on track with Mum.
Do you think your mum knew that?
Yeah, oh yeah. But she said, they never had a great relationship anyway when she was growing up anyway.
Right.
So the fact she came over 2 weeks before I was born, came to England,
Right.
Don't understand. But because it wouldn't have been because she was, close to her daughter and she wanted to help her daughter out or something. It was just odd. It's just a really odd, sort of scenario growing up when I was growing up. But anyway, Mum wasn't close, and they would clash every now and again. And so I was always under lockdown because by this time now, and Granny didn't really want me to have a relationship with Mum, and I think that
Was she jealous?
Yeah, yeah. No, I think Granny would be jealous if for any reason I got too close to Mum.
Right.
Because for all intents, I am your mother. I am the one that brought you up.
Yeah.
This woman has no right to you.
So there was almost like a little power struggle.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But I wanted to know what happened and how it happened, and so by this time now I'm probably about 15. Tony's in play. He's around, and you get to a certain age where you're thinking, I really want to know what happened, but I don't want to offend nobody, and I don't want to cause, and I don't want to seem as if I'm going out to be rude. But I did, she did tell me certain things,
Right.
and it's just that Dad wasn't, he was quite a stay-at-home kind of person, quite a homely person. She was quite,
A more worldly spirit.
yeah, and she wanted to go out and mix and party and that kind of thing. Where Dad was a kind of stay-at-home kind of person. And and if I think right, was there an age gap between them maybe as well? I can't honestly remember. He was 50. Yeah, I think there's probably about a 10-year gap between them as well.
Right, okay.
So that kind of dynamic and so on. So when she wanted love and affection and stuff, and she wanted to go out and she didn't, and that's not what
It's
I
not what she
remember.
kind of signed
That's-
up for.
Yeah, maybe she was looking for security by marrying a slightly older person,
Right.
And then when push come to shove,
And the dream of, I suppose, a new life in England.
yeah,
And what everyone was sort of sold on back in that back in the day. Just coming back to Dad then, and the first time you went, when Great Granny said, "Bring him in."
oh yeah, she did.
What was? Were you nervous? Were you more nervous than Dad?
Yes.
Because you had
uncles.
you had Uncle Headley and Uncle Vincent, and is it that they both didn't like white people, or was it Headley?
Headley, the main.
Headley didn't like white people.
It's not that he didn't like. He didn't think we should mix like that. You're watering down the race is really what he said to
Right.
me at one point, and this is before we had you. So it's like, why can't you go out with a nice young, I didn't fancy a nice, a black young
You wanted
man.
a blue-eyed little blonde-haired Irishman.
Granny said,
hey, Dad.
but Granny was in our corner. She said, leave them alone. She said, if you can find a nice black church-going young lad, then I might bring him, come and see. Then I might say, all right. But until then, leave the children them alone. And that was a big deal for me to hear Granny say something like that. But on saying that though, she would never let us out the house. Or I mean, even my girlfriends. I mean, it's not as if when I went to work and the girls then went on Saturday to go window shopping or whatever in town, I wasn't allowed to do things like that. I had to stay at home and wash the curtains, and the bath and put the curtains in
These
to
were
soak in the
curtains
bath.
by hand.
Yeah. Because I really don't remember laundrettes and stuff as to that extent growing up. So we had to do it all. So yeah, come weekends that was my time to work. And clean the house and do what I needed to do, but Con also had his chores to do. So even as a boy, Granny made sure that he did his chores, and he had to tidy the room and do washing and cleaning and empty the bins and all the normal things, and learn how to iron and all that, and how to cook. And so we both had to do our chores and learn how to look after ourselves really, and that was her thing. So when Tony then came to play, and it was a case of. We weren't allowed out. Tony would come to our house 7 nights a week. And, and even on a Saturday afternoon or whatever, Granny needed for us to cut up some fruit, because she used to make cakes as well.
This is like the Jamaican rum
cakes, yeah. Right. And wedding cakes and stuff, like if anybody wanted any. We'd have to cut the raisins and stuff out, and then she'd soak it in wine and in
no
rum and that.
Then.
And, no blender. So he would.
So Dad was cutting the fruit.
Yeah, when he should have been playing football
Dad.
with his football team and that kind of thing, but he'd rather come and hang out with us. So and then if for any reason he said you want to go to the pictures or something like that, and on the other occasion that we did, it meant that my kid brother had to go with us as well.
What was the first film you took her to see at the cinema?
Lady Sings the Blues.
Oh, why do you think it was The Exorcist?
No.
Did you go with it? Did you see The Exorcist at the cinema?
I did, yeah.
With you?
Mm-hmm. Because then you thought you wasn't going to be able to get in at one point, because he looked like a baby,
Stunning. Stunning. Such a big head, Dad.
He was, a cute little youngster. He didn't look his age, that kind of thing. Like a little bit like Liam Neal.
Oh,
Liam's only a baby. It's like, okay. But so what I'm saying is how how that went, and that was our going out together.
But in the end, obviously,
years.
the family accepted him. Before then, again, coming back to Headley and Vincent, because there was an encounter. Was it Headley that you had the encounter with when he was trying to? When he got, let's say, very handsy and basically tried to beat you up because you were going out with Dad.
Well, he tried to hit me for some reason. But by this time now, Granny was ill. Right. I think she had a mild stroke or something like that, and she was in bed. So we all had to, look after. At this point in time as well, I had sort of started. When I say rebellion, my rebellion was Tony got me into
your first band, sent off for your first ever audition.
So I did an audition and I got into this band. So by this time now, I started to do the odd gig at night and so on. And the uncles then would say that we had to have a rota to have somebody stay with Granny at all times, basically. And my rota was they would utilize me more because I lived there at that time. But the odd time that I had to go out and do a gig or whatever it is, it wasn't convenient for them, or they didn't want me to do that because I had, and I said, but in effect, I'm doing another job, so and I'm earning money for this, so I need to go, and I think he took umbrage to that as well. So because he meant his lady had to stay and look, and one of the time they both lived there, so. Uncle Vincent and his lady lived at our house,
right?
And I was we were also there, no? Yeah, all together. That's it.
Why you lived there?
Yeah.
Oh,
when we lived at Granny's,
you lived with Granny, great Granny.
Yeah.
Did you?
We were married at that time, innit?
Yeah. She was ill, so we moved back there.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, we moved back there. So that was the thing, and and as I'm going into the room or coming out, whatever it is, he's trying to push me or pull me or hit me or whatever. And with that, I said, I'm not, because my uncles them also used to beat the wives,
Right.
Or the
I was
ladies.
going to touch. Yeah, that's, yeah.
So, and this is the first
And we're
time.
talking hardcore as well.
Yeah. And with that, I'm thinking, no. Nobody, you're gonna hit me. No man's gonna hit
weren't
me.
you trying to get in one of the days?
Yes, he
I
did.
came in and I could hear what was going on. I tried to get in the room.
He heard the commotion and stuff like that, and with that,
They were on the floor.
Yeah.
But was it not you? You'd think you're bad.
I said, don't think I'm, I'm gonna. Anyway, yes. So I tried to give as much as, as best as I could. So that's what happened. That was the confrontation, and it's like, don't put your hand on me.
Well, again, coming back to strength, because that was one of the other things that I was going to then come to with the uncles, is the fact that you have grown up seeing
The violence,
like heavy duty domestic violence to the extent where their partners couldn't even open their eyes properly.
Oh dear!
Because Dad, did you work with one of them as well?
Yeah.
And you used to see them sort of
He walked with
black and blue,
Big lips.
Auntie Norma. Yeah.
and to see that, and as I mentioned earlier on, Dad had his fair share of beatings from Grandad. For no reason as well. It's just was there a couple of you that for some reason he just took a disliking to? Was it you and Michael?
Yeah, mostly me, but Michael as well. But Michael was always in trouble with the police.
Yeah.
So I can understand that.
So you've both grown up obviously seeing domestic violence, and you again have still got the warmth, but is that something that gave you an extra strength to say, no, that's not going to happen to me?
No. Yes, that's right. That's true. Yeah, I had to break that cycle. And no, that's not what I was signing up for with anybody. And like your daddy, he broke the cycle because, his brothers and stuff grew up doing the same to their wives and stuff like that. And Granddad did that. And like you said, he's not the man that we knew. Yeah, but that's how life was.
Yeah.
And so, he broke the cycle because his brothers went on to do the same sort of thing. So you have to break that mold. And I was not going to have a man put his hand on me ever. So, whether, sometimes you try to instigate anything, or being a bit too feisty or whatever, I don't care what it is, don't put your hand on me. And yet, the girlfriends or the wives of my uncles, them, basically said the same thing. If you can't manage them with your hand, you make sure you got something that you can.
Because they used to say, make sure you've got a pot of boiling water.
Yeah, all of that, or something. Porridge. Yeah, make sure to
like porridge sticks.
Yeah, and to hear that kind of talk from as a youngster,
that's heavy duty.
Oh yeah, but none of them ever did it. They used to get beaten by the guys, and that's how it was, and always went back to them. Why are you staying with them when that's the case? Or they're going out, they've got the women on the sideline and that kind of thing. And yet the ones that are taking care of everything is the ones that you're treating badly. So, and I think but then that's how Granny grew up as well. I think that's how her partners, it's what they did to her.
So is that part of what you think made her as sort of standoffish and as hard on the inside as what she was?
Yeah, that too. Yeah, that too. And yet her sons ended up doing the same.
And the thing is, eventually, with you and Dad, because you ended up earning their respect, and because Dad's got physical scars where he's been slashed when he's coming to you. He's been slashed by black women with the metal hair combs.
Yeah, because downstairs used to be like a Rasta family. So once
you used to get spat on by all the Rastas.
Yeah, and the girls then, because they got the guys then behind them, were quite handy when they're ready, and we've been out and the bricks have been thrown at us and that kind of thing. We couldn't go on the buses at the same time together and sit in the same seat and all that kind of thing. So it was kind of heavy duty. And
you opened the door. Was it you or someone opened the door to you one day and you were covered in blood when you'd been slashed?
My brother Con, yeah. So the girls just slashed at us like with a metal comb. But then but through him still keeping coming and everything else, he gained their respect.
What made you stick to it?
Well, nobody's going to stop me. And they couldn't catch me anyway. They used to chase me every night, but in them days I was. It's true, wasn't it?
They used to chase you as well?
They used to chase me.
Yeah.
Heathfield Road was a mile long. They used to chase me, and I used to run backwards and say, "Come on." No, but they did. She'd always say, "Be careful." I said, "They won't get me that way."
Yeah.
Because I know you disappeared not disappeared, but once you left school,
Yeah,
then you went missing for like 6 months, and then is it only when one of your school friends said, "Guess who I saw at the bus stop today?"
Yeah, and so I went out to the bus stop the next day, probably an hour before she was due, and waited till she got off the bus and followed us where she worked. So when she came out of work that night, I was sitting on the wall and just said, "Hello."
Stalker.
Because I'm thinking, this can't. Obviously, that was just at the leaving point. We were going out together, but we weren't. I didn't want it to go any further because I knew that he's going to have problems. We are going to have problems as well, and especially if I couldn't bring him home because my uncles then wouldn't like it. I knew that for a fact. But I said, so I just left school. I had a job the next day, and I went to school. So once I'd left school, I thought, well, that was the end of it. Nah, ended up finding out, where I was working and stuff like that. Come out to work that day, and he was sitting on the wall opposite.
Can you remember what you felt when you saw him?
Whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop-de-doo. No. No, I was quite nervous.
Okay.
Because he obviously wasn't going to let the relationship go. And like I said, it's not as if I could chase him. So it was him. It was him basically doing the chase and having to come down. I'm going, no, you can't. It's not good for you. One of the nights he was leaving our house, and his one of his brothers drove by and said, "Quick, jump in the car, get in the car, with his wife, right?"
No, he was on his own.
Was he on his own? Okay.
Who was that?
Uncle Christy, yeah. And he said, "Get in the car, quick. What are you doing walking, in this area on your own?" And so I'm all right. So it wasn't a very nice area for him to be walking around that late at night.
But then eventually,
if he missed
you were
his
there,
bus,
like
that was
one of the star players at all the blues parties, and
That's her Uncle Vincent.
yeah. Uncle Vincent was kind of cool with your daddy. So he basically took
a big
you
man.
Big,
Yeah.
big like Barry White. I always, yeah.
Oh, was he?
Yeah. Built like Barry White. You'd think it was Barry from a distance, but he was big. So when I walked in with him, he just said to him,
"No problems.
Leave him. He's with me," and I had no problems.
Yeah, but Headley's didn't come round. He was like, I mean, he wouldn't be nasty or anything to you, would he? He would he'd say, and then just carry on. But he said,
when was it? Was it at Great Granny's funeral? Is one of the only times he?
Well, he called me outside and then says, he just took me to me and said, "Look, just to say I was wrong about you," and that was it.
Wow.
That's the only words he ever spoke to me.
Really? Really?
Yeah, Con come into we was all in the house after the gang got buried, and then Con come and said, "Uncle Headley wants you." And I thought, oh, here we go.
Yeah.
And I went out, he was sitting in the car, and he said, "I just wanted to thank us because we paid for the funeral."
Right.
And then he just turned around to me and said, "I was wrong about you.
Yeah.
Sorry." I said, "That's all right." And
that's the only time he ever spoke to you in all those years.
Apologised and
said, I was
yeah.
born by this point.
Yeah.
He never ever spoke.
So did I ever meet? I must have met him. Or was he
you must
standoffish
have
with me because I was?
No. He used with us a few times, and then
basically, your daddy knew where he stood with Uncle Headley.
I liked him because of that.
He liked him because of
a
it.
family who pretended to like me, but I knew what they were really like. But he told me straight. I knew straight where I stood with him. I knew he didn't. Not that he didn't like me. He wasn't keen on white people, like she said. He didn't like the mixed. That was it. But I knew where I stood with him. So
and I didn't touch upon as well because. Which is it, Headley, or was it both of them were in and out of prison?
Yeah,
both.
Yeah.
So because when the timeline is just crazy,
there's
definitely not even going to have I'm going to have to get you on part 2, Mum.
Oh dear.
But you used to, when you were what, about 10, 11, you used to bag up bags of weed.
Yeah. Yeah.
I still find that amazing to this day.
My Uncle Headley, used to have a little.
Was a drug dealer.
That's the problem. See, I didn't know words like that when I was growing up. You see,
he was a dealer,
and I still don't think.
And he
was
like a big boy dealer as well. Even I know that in terms of from people that I know from Handsworth.
It's only
and past that of cross
children to we met people along the way.
While I went back to Handsworth, I ended up gravitating back to Handsworth. Obviously, people in and around the area, and then just one of my friends, and I can't remember. I want to say it was like a food shop. You know when you go down You got. Is it the Hockley flyover?
Hockley.
But then you've got the roundabout at the
That's
bottom,
right.
and then off.
Flats. It was the
As you
flats.
go off to the, you come in. If you go to sort of the right underneath the Hockley flyover, there was a food place, and me and my friend went to the food place, and I can't remember how something came up and how it even came into the conversation with me and my mate. And he mentioned something to do with someone called Circus.
Yeah.
And I said I think I called you, didn't I? And I said, do you know someone called Circus? And that's when Dad said, that's your Uncle Headley. And yeah, my mate's like, is he your uncle, Dad?
He's well known, obviously, yeah.
And then gone into the food shop. He's like, you know whose niece this is? Circus's niece. And I'm like, who the hell's Circus? Yeah. But then, and obviously, because one of the things was that they say that he hung himself. This is obviously, story, so this is, again, and this the reason I'm highlighting things like this is because to come around to some of the key questions, and again, the strength of you as a woman, and off the back of Independent Women's Day, International Women's Day, I should say, and also Mother's Day, and the fact that you are a huge inspiration, not just to obviously all your own sort of general fan base, but to me, and I'm sure to Ryan as well, and a number of people, because I think you are genuinely the strongest woman that I know.
And yet I don't. This is
what is the beautiful thing about you. You are just you. You don't see that. You don't see what everybody else sees. But when I hear this story, and there's going to be people who hear this and think, flipping hell, I never knew this is about Jaki's backstory. She's got one hell of a story. And we are literally just scratching the surface to try and fit in your history into the space of what, let's say, an hour. There's too much to even fill in. So just to touch upon some of the key things, and we've not even got to your career yet in terms of the things and things that have gone on within the industry. But you have just a strength of character that I have never come across before. And I think you underestimate that, which is, like I said, it's a beautiful thing. Because you're not someone that's like, you don't stand there and sort of give it the big I am. Oh, my candle's just gone out at that point. There we go. But you don't give it the big I am. And you are just so humble and just authentic. You're just your true self. So like I said, you've got...
You try to be true to
bagging
yourself.
up weed. You're a little mini drug dealer.
Oh, shame.
You've seen domestic abuse. You've gone through racism.
That's another thing. And then I'm watching people that smoking and thinking, what's it doing to you? anyway, yes, it's like
Liam, I warned you. I told you my mum was going to be mad.
Yeah, but the weed that used to be in the house, because Uncle Headley.
They must have been smoking it all the time.
Oh yeah. But she didn't like that around her because she said it
gave her a headache.
It gave her but I must have been swimming in and stuff, even though I didn't physically light up or whatever it is. But the room used to be smoky with it.
Yeah, so you sort of passive.
Yeah. So in that respect, it didn't do me no harm. Says I, but no, but it's not. That's
not
a good side. But I didn't realize that. But it's like every day back in the day when people used to smoke anyway. You go pubs or clubs or whatever it is, and you'd be in a smoky-filled atmosphere and everything else. I still never thought nothing of it at the time. Looking back now, no, it's not good. It's not good, and things have changed, and I think it has changed for the better. But when it comes to
for
the
medicinal
weed,
purposes and all that kind of stuff,
so
then
that's why I used to say to my
that's
uncle,
going to be a topic at some stage that I'm going to be speaking to
why
someone on.
do you get into trouble for it? He said, weed is better for you than alcohol. He says. He said, it's herbs, it's this, and he would justify then, the medicinal purposes of it. But two of the biggest drugs
in the world is alcohol and tobacco. So he wasn't wrong.
No.
But again, just coming back to, you had an uncle who allegedly hung himself.
To this day, I'm...
But coming back to my friend, it was my friend, because it turns out my friend had been in prison with him. So it was just like, that's how he's like, no. So I got some of the lowdown on his background, and he's like, he did not hang himself. No. So there is that's something that has, and still will remain, I suppose, a mystery, but he was not liked by the police.
No.
And he was, he was essentially one of the big drug dealers in Birmingham.
I know what I said. I never knew that. Because Headley was my favourite uncle, Right. I mean, he was the younger one. He was the cool one.
Did it hurt you then that in terms of how he felt towards Dad?
Yes,
Did
Because
it change your relationship or the dynamic of your relationship with how he felt towards it?
I mean, he'd come and go. We seemed, but by this time we've grown up and we're living where we're living, or when we moved back to Granny's to live when she took ill. No, he would be. He was always civil, wasn't he? He'd say hello or goodbye or whatever it was. There was no animosity going on at all. So, it was always very, so he was, to me, a very, I thought, a lovely man, an attractive man as well. So he was a cool dresser and all that kind of thing.
So Marvin Gaye.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you're Barry White and Marvin Gaye as uncles?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But that's how I saw him. So I never saw him as being, a drug dealer or
even after the abuse to their women as well. Did you have to detach?
That's the only thing, yeah. That's the only thing I didn't like, But he never used to. He would fight every now and again, but it wasn't as often as Vincent. Vincent was a serial sort of, hitter, beater,
right.
women beater. But Headley wasn't. It's the one once in a blue moon if they've had an argument or whatever. And Little knew how to handle herself anyway.
Right.
So I never saw it. So
for you.
yeah, that he did that, and then obviously when it happened and he wanted to lash out at me, I said, nah, that ain't happening. Favorite uncle, and that ain't happening. So don't even try. It's like, oh, okay, and then that's when you start growing up. But yet I still have an affinity for the uncles them, and they were always good to me, and they were always all right with me in that respect. And the fact that, because anybody that you bring into your circle, whether it be a friend or a partner, you always want that person to be embraced by whoever your circle is.
Yep.
Right? You want your girlfriends to like you, your new partner. You want
them to be accepted.
Okay, and so it's a big thing to always want to be accepted by, by your friends or your family or your
and
peers
your
or whatever.
ones, yeah.
So yes, the fact that he didn't, but because he knew, and Tony knew that it wasn't a race thing. It's a race in a sense that he didn't like the fact that we were together, but he didn't hate Tony, and that's another thing. So because there was no hate or anything like that in it, and then eventually, as he said, the years went by. And he apologized to Tony and said, "I thought you were going to take her in a different direction, or whatever, or be the kind of person that she shouldn't be." So, however they treated their women, they didn't want anybody else to treat their females that way. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
So,
which you would think you would lead by example,
right? No,
and allow them to.
That's right. No, if anybody had to put their hand on they would have moved heaven and earth, made sure that didn't happen again. And I think, and Tony's brother's the same. If any of them, anybody else had harmed his sisters, or their sisters, right, the boys would have, been there like a shot.
Yeah.
And so the fact that,
because they used to have to, was it your brothers used to have to peel Grandad off Nan? That's mad.
And that's very sad. Because, like I say again, that's not the man we knew.
No,
he loved you, and he embraced me, and so
He didn't go to the wedding though, did he?
No.
He turned up at the reception.
Yeah.
Right.
Sorry, John.
Yeah.
Yeah, turned up at the reception, but he was. But I still think him.
Don't tell your daddy. That's all I remember. Just going to see them. Was it in the flats? And Dad always used to say, "Now, when you go in, just say hello to your granddad, and then come out and leave him, and don't take any money off him." And then,
but you're the only child that used to, because his other grandchildren never used to go in and see me, because he would be in his front room, and Nanny, your grand would be in her sort of dining room, kitchen kind of thing going on. But the family would come in to see your mom and dad, to see your granny, right? But never used to go in and see the dad.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So
they'd come to the house and not even go in and acknowledge him. You're joking?
Yeah.
I wouldn't, but she used to go in.
But everything changed when I came on the scene, because when I used to go to visit them, I would go and say, good evening to Mr. O, and I would go and say, and then we go and hang out with the mother. But I would always, and you would then go in and say, Granddad.
Granddad.
Yeah, and you know,
and I'd go
your
and
cousin
sit,
Christian
yeah.
would be there, and you know, but the two of you then would hang out with your granddad.
And I just remember sitting on his lap, and like I said, just he'd always give me some change, and I'd get, and don't tell your daddy.
That's when he said it.
Yeah. Granddad, I'm not allowed. No, Dad, I'll get into trouble. Never mind your daddy.
Yeah.
I said.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then when we
one-
get outside, Dad would be like, "Did he give you any money?" And then I'd just be like, "Oh, I tried to, Dad. I told you not to take any money from him. I did say, Dad." So yeah. But no,
Yeah.
it's just
all
it's
the
just
other grandchildren
amazing
wouldn't
when it comes to
but you
men
always
in the
would
life
hang out.
who have laid their hands on women, and just that. What's the word I'm looking for? Is I don't know if hypocrisy of it is the right word, possibly. But yeah, I mean, I can't imagine it. There's no way. I mean, and that's not to take, because I know people. I've got friends, male and female, on both sides of the fence, who have been, do you know what I mean, had people lay their hands on each other. But it's just always something, and I don't know whether it's because I've heard of how you were brought up, both of you, and what your experiences were. I'm just like, no man can ever. No man can. I've got too many people around me, for whether dads, Ryan, friends, that would just be straight away, that ain't happening.
No.
But I think I've got I couldn't allow that. Couldn't.
Once you show weakness like that, you know, then that's it. They got you. So I don't care how much I love that person. No.
But again, for a lot of people, it's easier said than done.
I know. God bless
It's
them. I
easier said
know.
than done.
And I've been around people thinking, and I've tried to help them maybe get out of the situation, or, you know, use me as a you know, just to say, listen, come.
Yeah.
Let's go and hang somewhere, or whatever it is.
They've got to be able to do when they're ready.
Back, yeah.
And hopefully, touch wood with a lot of them before sometimes it ends up being too late. But yeah, no, it is heavy duty.
Some women are kind of addicted to it because that's the way they think they're being loved.
Yeah. And some of them have had that from childhood as well. So in terms of, again, the break the cycle. And I said, we've had this conversation before when it comes to like product of your environment, until you've been in it and you've lived in it and you've grown up in it, then you can never judge anybody else's stories until you've walked a mile in their shoes. So I get all that, but we are going to have to do a part 2. I don't even know how long have we been recording for now?
Probably about 45, 50 minutes.
Okay, because I need to get my questions, and we've not even touched upon the music side of things, other than the fact that obviously Dad sent off for your first ever audition. I am going to have to get you in for a part 2. I'm going to have to find some kind of significant music day in the calendar so we can delve properly into the musical career, because on that front, you are a game changer when it comes to the British music scene, which I know, again,
I am trying to
you
embrace
don't
it.
see it that way,
but the fact that people are giving me love and accept me for that, you know, I didn't come into because I wanted to be, you know, a star. I just wanted to, you know, I loved what I did, and I got some music and hung out with some musicians and people that, and basically I was having fun. And if you're having fun with me and you like what I'm doing, and you know, and if the voice touches you, and I all these kind of things, then you know, I've had a good career.
In fact, that's what we're going to do, because you are. Well, I'm proud of the fact that you are 67. You don't mind talking about your age. I'm 42, 67.
What's he say?
He said Jesus. I told you at some stage we were going to get a Jesus out of him as well. But you've never had a stitch of work done. Never had a needle put to your face.
No.
I don't even think you use face masks or anything, do you? You are, again, you're one of these, you're annoying because you're just so photogenic, Mom. It's irritating. And my photogenic days left me when I was about 10, 11.
No, I ain't having that.
You again, look, you've just got this bright complexion, still got a great figure, and other than your only workouts are when you're on stage.
Yeah, shame.
But you got into your first band when you were 17. So what we'll do, because with you being 67, that's 50 years you've been in this game.
Oh dear!
It's your 50th. That's right. It's 50th. Yeah, 50th anniversary.
I forget. Yeah. When you put it like that, you break it down.
So we'll do a 50th anniversary special. We'll bring you back and we'll talk specifically about the music side of things. But again, there's probably certain people who are going, no disrespect to you, are going to be thinking, well, who are you? what have you done in music? And obviously you were the first Black British female solo artist to have 6 consecutive top 10 and 20 hits, which was unheard of.
And I wasn't even aware of that, let me tell you.
Early to mid 80s. Yeah. This is just, it was banger after banger after banger at that stage. And you didn't get the support
from the
or the respect
company.
From your record label, who at that time was EMI.
Yes, I know.
And we were having this conversation beforehand. We were talking about Ray, who's obviously just recently won.
Bless her, yeah. Well done to
is
her.
it the 6 Brit Awards? And I like Ray. I've been playing her stuff while I've been on the radio and that. And when you hear, it's sad because when you hear the story that she's gone through to get to the point now of the recognition that she's got, it's almost as if that story never changes.
All these years later, it's still happening, still going on. But with the onset of all this internet and all the rest of it, you can make your own way. There's so much talent out, so much good talent as well. Talent.
You said this the other week when we were driving down to the studio and I was playing some of my tunes. Yeah.
Who's this? Where they come from? How did you find them? Yeah, this kind of thing. But now Ray has made her own music and she made it and then put it out on her own.
Like independent, yeah.
And now she's getting recognition for it.
Yeah.
So, so there's hope for everybody out there now. Back in the day when we were doing our thing, we relied on the record company.
Yeah.
To promote us and do all what they needed to do. A Black
they wouldn't
British,
put the money into music videos, and obviously D, bless him. D, at some stage, I'm going to be doing so. D Trapman is like Uncle D to me, but he is an award-winning music video director. He's done not just obviously. I think he did 6 of yours. Duran, Donna Summer, Cliff Richards, Thompson Twins,
Heavy
Climby
duty,
Fisher, all sorts of people. And back in the day, and even he says, I think Could It Be was your first video?
Yeah.
And when he talks to me about the budget that they gave him at the time, he's like, what do you expect me to do with this? But he still made it work. And obviously the Could It Be video is, and I think he said they just went out to the street because it's filmed at Brixton Academy.
That's right.
And he said they just got some of the people, go out and just round up some people in Brixton and just some random heads to sort of
do you want to be in a video?
Yeah, just to sort of bunch them at the front of the stage to make it look
as if it was
a filled auditorium. Yeah. So at some stage I'm going to do it because obviously Dee lives in the States.
Yeah.
And in his beautiful
heart.
pad in Palm Springs. So hopefully I'll be back out there for my birthday in June, God willing. But I'm going to have Dion as well to talk obviously about his experiences and he's into sort of property and everything now.
Yeah.
But yeah,
he'd tell you the
back
story.
In the day when it came to budgets and people didn't have the backing.
I know.
For you, there were certain people at the label that did. So yeah, I think. What do you reckon, Liam? Do you reckon that'll be a good one to get back for a 50th anniversary special? I forgot about that actually. That's a massive milestone. So my key questions then. I'm going to have to literally just because we've gone on. But I think everything that we've talked about is very valid. And yeah, a nice little start to my podcast. Thanks, Mum.
Oh, okay.
So one of my questions was, how do you define happiness?
Whoa.
I purposely didn't prep her with any of these beforehand because I know she would have A-driven dad mad. And I didn't want you to overthink it. So how do you define happiness and has it evolved over time?
Wow, that's the I'm going into my music situation first, right? When your daddy got me that audition and I started to do that, and then I did my first gig, and you see how people get fired up of a female, because I was the only female in the band at that time, and people, and how music is so powerful and how joyous it is, and the fact that when you as an artist doing what you're doing and people love what you're doing, that gives me joy. That makes me happy, I have to say. Then we then have children. And then you see this little face.
Best day of your life when I came along, wasn't it, Mum?
Oh my
Dad?
gosh! Your daddy
Best day of your
daddy
lives.
said you was all screwed up and everything else. He
shame.
said she better change by the time I come
What
back.
did you say when I came out? I looked like great granny. Yeah. Brilliant.
See the family trait.
And what did he actually say? He actually said that, didn't he?
Oh, he did. Yeah. When she went back to his mum. your
Right.
nanny, right? And said, she's the little girl and everything else, but her face is all scribbling. She better change by the time I get back there tonight, and everything.
Dad, you've got no manners.
And with that, that to me was the choice. To have you, and you think, oh my, I got a baby now. What we gonna do with this baby?
Mm-mm.
And then and with the singing and everything else, and then trying to work that out. So that was joyous. Okay, and then there's people that I've worked with along the way that has that has made me feel that I can do anything, right? So to work with singers and people, and the fact that these people that I think are huge. Now they I think of them as stars, okay? Then they look at me in the same light.
I'm assuming Michael's one of these.
Oh my gosh!
The legend himself, Michael McDonald, Uncle Michael.
Yeah, I see him, and and people like Sir Cliff, and and to bring me into their fold, and then to meet the Lamont Dozier and people, and just people that you meet along there, Stevie Wonder and all these kind of people. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, and they're putting me in the same bracket as them. I'm not worthy, but I'm so happy that they look at me in that light. I am one of them. Because I always have no difference to anybody else, that I cook, clean, wash, and iron, and at the end of the day, my gift is the voice, and if I use the voice well, and if I get the right material and everything else, I say that to everybody, all the youngsters coming up as well, the same thing, that you too will shine, and the fact that I thought I'd be on this road for like 5 minutes.
And 50
and I'm
years later,
still here doing my thing, darling, and people
Drum and
still
bass,
giving me, oh my gosh,
house music.
Oh my gosh.
I'm pushing you out of your comfort zone on and on.
What genre is this now? And what genre is that? Okay.
Is it strange that I manage you?
Oh, yeah. And they have, your children come up and now they're telling you what to do and everything else, and now I've got to do it.
Shut up, Mom, just do it.
But the fact that
you
I'm
said
still
children,
learning.
You need to throw as well into the mix that surely one of your other happiest days is when Ryan came along.
Oh, jeez.
Sorry, Ryan.
That was another one.
Shout out to baby bro. Otherwise, he'd be looking back or listening to this and think, well, cheers for that, Mom. Happiest day of your life was when Natalie was born. What about me?
I'm 11 years later, and then we have little Ryan.
And just again, strength and resilience, because you suffered two miscarriages?
Yeah.
Before Ryan came along?
Yeah.
And one of those
we did.
was when you were having, and I remember one of those was when you were performing a live performance on Central Weekend back in the day.
That's right.
And was it Nicky Campbell?
Yes, he was hosting the show.
Was it you on one side and Nicky Campbell on the other side, and you went on to sing Simply the Best?
Yes.
And I remember, I can't remember if it was
Who's the boxer you were talking about?
It was Chris Eubank. I couldn't. Was it Chris? There was one of the
Chris Eubank.
And was it Jeremy Beadle on that one as well?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
And I just remember running up and down in the corridor, you being in the changing room.
I didn't know what was going on.
And I was saying to Dad, I was like, is Mom all right? He said, yeah, your mom is just go out in the hallway and play. And
your friend Emma with you there.
Not when you were having the miscarriage. That was another time.
Oh, you didn't have.
Not Emma wasn't with you. No, not that time.
Oh, okay.
Not because you did Central Weekend, I think, a few times.
Yeah, okay.
But no.
Oh, I see.
I think Emma. I don't think Jeremy Beadle was on the one when. I think it might have been Eubank, one of them. But and you. They said
that's why I did Simply the Best. Is it really?
That's when you did, yeah. Because Julie and Julie was it the next day said, oh my God, we saw it. She was brilliant. And then that's when Dad turned around and said, Julie, she was having a miscarriage. She said, you're joking.
Yeah, we were about to get the ambulance and stuff and paramedics and that kind of thing.
And all because you just like, no, I've never missed a show. I'm committed to this. So they were holding you up at this. And this is like, people are going to be listening to this thinking there is no way that happened. But if you go through the archives, Central Weekend, I will never forget that night. Because I remember when we went home as well then, just in terms of you were in the bathroom for the rest of the evening. And I just said to Dad, is Mom okay? And I think it was the next day when Dad picked me up from school. And he said, yeah. And then, because it was Newbridge, wasn't it? And then, and then I got in the car and Dad said, right, okay, now your mummy's lost the baby. Just go in. She's a bit upset. Go in and just, give her a hug and then just leave her alone for a bit. And I just remember, I think I came in and obviously me being me with my barling self. Oh, I'm sorry. But it's because I was I remember as well that I was yearning for a baby brother or a baby sister. I always wanted a younger sibling.
Yeah.
But coming back round to, you are a phenomenal human being.
Oh, bless your heart.
You really are. And you're going through the change, and you've been taught, everyone nowadays is talking about menopause and all this kind of stuff. I'm going to have to get you on as well when I get certain people, when we're talking about certain topics. She was having
just
a flush
in case.
before we started. I said, have you got, she said, the one day I forgot to bring my flannel. Just in case you haven't. Oh, you've not been too bad.
No, cool.
I don't think you've flushed yet, but yeah, even when it comes to things like you've been talking about going through the change while you've been on stage for donkey's years.
Shame.
Now all of a sudden, everybody's just like, oh, menopause this, menopause. You are like the
buzz.
you should be the staple person for, is it your wellness woman or whatever it is, all these men, because
But I didn't know what the what was going on.
yeah,
I mean,
you've always been
everybody
open
know.
about it. But when everyone was just like, oh no,
I got my own internal
menopause, you can't talk about that.
temperature. Oh, please. Girls, you know
We
what
all
we're talking about.
exactly.
Come on
exactly.
now.
Which is why I say you are someone who has genuinely been living it and not been ashamed. What I'm saying is you're not ashamed of things.
No.
You're not ashamed of things that other people would consider taboo. Or that other people would think, oh no, you can't talk about that. No, that's one to be spoken about. That's private. Not for everybody else to know.
No, but we all live it. We're
know
all
this,
going through this.
But that's not the mentality of everybody out there in the general public. And some of it now is utilised to, I don't know, almost a bandwagon off.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying to you. It's
And
a
you've never
buzzword
done
now.
that?
No. Women in time immemorial have been going through this.
Yes.
So it's a natural progression thing. I'm thinking, oh, I'll just ride it out. It'll be all right.
Dad, what did you say? She was born with it.
Damn. This thing is relentless, and when you come to the
But did you know
I didn't even realize it.
that menopause is only one day?
So you told me,
Yeah.
go away from here.
Yeah, when I had one of a menopause expert on
what
on my
day
show
was that?
once. It's
How
the
can that
menopause
work?
is the one day when the whole cycle stops. That's the menopause is only, and when I was talking to her on air, and I was just like, hold on a second, she was going into something else. I said, hold on a second, can we just like rewind? I said, because there's not going to be just women. I said, but there's going to be a lot of guys out there who are going to turn around and say one day. And I said, my dad's going to be one of them. And I said, you're telling me it only lasts for one day, but yeah, it's only one day. So all the sort of the lead up to, I suppose, is all the perimenopause, and then you've got the postmenopause. Like I said, that's going to be a whole podcast.
I'm still learning. Let me tell you.
So for that one, you'll have to come on because obviously you can definitely relate. I'm making sure, touch wood, that mine stays away for a good while because obviously I still want to have kids. But at the same time, yeah, just like, so yeah, change, child loss, you have, yeah, Mom.
When you put it like that, you break
blow
it down.
my mind.
I sometimes I forget about certain things.
Your story is hardcore. It really is. But again, it's a testament to you in terms of who you are and how you conduct yourself. Because if there's one thing that you have always maintained, you have always been a really classy lady.
Wow, your daddy wouldn't say that.
He's sitting there thinking, wait till she gets home and takes her makeup off and ends up looking like great granny.
No, because I think I always think of myself as being rough and ready. I try to to do what I got to do, and
you can be
and
rough
look
and ready
decent.
and unpolished, but you can still be classy.
And I say this to my audiences and stuff like that. Once I know that this is me. I know I come out trying to look, but then I look like a drowned rat. But I'm still giving it to you, and I'm still receiving the love, and I'm still feeling it, and then the fact that I try to be posh, or I try to live it, but people accept me. That's all it is. People accept me for me, and I'm grateful for that.
So happiness, we've done that, defining happiness. I'm the greatest day of your life. We've established that.
My firstborn. Sorry, Ryan, I knew.
Yeah. What are your key factors that contribute to happiness, do you think, for people? Whether it's some people, it might be money. Some people, it might be fame. Some people, it might be love, family, relationships. What is it for you?
We want all that. We want all that, darling. But at the end of the day, it's not that I want to be famous or what's that thing, wannabe. I just want to live my life good. I want to be good, kind to other people. I just want to give love to everybody, and in return you hopefully you receive it back, and just make people feel good. And even if it's that's just a smile or a little hello or whatever it is, I'm all right with that. Yes, we earn enough little bit so we can pay our way and everything else. I'm not looking to be wealthy or rich or anything like that, but just to make sure that I can pay my way. And if anytime you lot need anything or what, I'm able to say, put this in your pocket. And we got food and we got our health more than anything, health and strength. So and just live your life, but just to be a good person and live your life. Don't judge people. Really, that's another thing. I don't. So I love to listen to people's story. I don't care what you do for a living. We are one. We are one. So as long as you're all right, I'm all right.
So when facing challenging times, then, how do you think you've been able to overcome some of your adversities?
I consider myself a very nervy person. So I think of myself as being nervous and something. It's just something. Most of what I do, I blag, and then all of a sudden I think, oh, you can do this. You throw me some deep ends, and let me tell you that now. I'm thinking, and that's for my craft and my career. But I like to see you lot get on, you lot do your thing, and throw yourselves in, because I think you lot are the blessing. You kids, you and Ryan are what lifts me, and I think also your daddy. So yeah, the fact that we don't know as parents, right, if we do it right, if what we're doing is right. You go on instinct, and you go on how you would like to be treated, and how you want you to be treated, and for you to treat, and for people to treat you. But then I see what you lot do, and you lot are fierce, and because it always looks as I am a strong person, but I've always been pushed. So whether this is why I can't. I embrace what you're saying, that I'm a strong woman and everything else, but I've always had somebody behind me, and whether it be especially your daddy, he's always. And then now I've got you kids, them saying, "Mom," I say, "No, man, I have my time. I sit down and rest myself." And you go, "No, but no, that's for the youngsters to do." And then you put me in a position and a situation. I'm thinking, you either have to sink or swim, and at the end of the day, you do what you got. I'm thinking, so I can do this. Yeah, I can do it. And to have the revelation to know that, you won't fail. You do what you can. You do what you can, and you make the most of what you can do.
So how important do you consider maintaining your well-being and overall self-care?
That's crucial. Whether I don't, I'm not as good as you, I must admit, because she go gym and but she gives you all these herbal things. And when I was growing up, my granny always used to have, she had this cabinet, and it had little goodies and stuff, and she'd always be boiling up a potion of this and a potion of that, and for the life of me. Now, all these years later, the youngsters know these potions and stuff. So to keep healthy.
And by potions, just so, because I know. Just to highlight, bearing in mind, I've had some of my listeners when I've been on air like, "Natalie, are you a white witch?" Because I'm surrounded by my crystals. I do my sage smudging and everything. So when you say potions, I'm talking like oregano to help. So we're talking like
all of these
actual herbs,
normal things that we
and plants and things that you can get. Yes, okay, just to clarify that so people don't.
I'm
think
learning
some
more
kind
and more about crystals
crazy, strange,
and stuff now.
and I can see Liam's little face there. It's just
But so with all that and well-being, I think well-being in general, and we had well-being growing up because it was a normal thing to my granny to be giving you herbs and stuff and making sure that your system's clean and you're eating the right things and all the rest of it. And we lost that somewhere along the line. And you youngsters now have picked up the slack. You now have gone back to old school and said, and I'm going, my granny used to do that. We used to do that. But I never really did it with you, because I don't like that. It don't taste right, or you don't, And I never forced the issue. But now you found it all for yourselves, and you need to keep yourself healthy. And with all the bugs and stuff that are going around as well. And with all the pandemic situation that was going on and so on.
Well, to be fair, my journey with all plants and natural stuff is mainly off Dad with his heart. Because obviously when Dad had his heart up, I can't believe it's coming up to 10 years as well now. So obviously bearing in mind, he went through, he had enlarged heart, atrial fibrillation, which have ablation. Was it a double or a triple bypass? Double bypass. Lost him a couple of times in the op. He was in a coma for a week.
That's right.
Afterwards. And it was him not being well in the lead up to, as well as that. Then the tablets that were essentially keeping him alive were also killing him. Mixing, this isn't now popped up. We'll take a tablet for this, and then the tablets were just sort of masking over what, rather than getting to the crux of. So I'm just seeing him on a daily basis. I just thought to myself, I can't watch this anymore. There's got to be stuff out there. There's got to be natural things available that we can. That you can utilize, and that's probably what got me on when I was like saying my prayers, this, that, and the other, like crystals. I was like anything just to get some kind of energy or belief, and that's what sent me on the path when it comes to herbs and the natural route for things
and all that research and stuff you did. And she'd come back and say, well, with this, that. I said, I remember Granny having that, and I remember Granny doing that. So it was something. It was a way of life to us back then.
So at some stage through life and over the years, then we lost that relationship with the natural and the planet. And the fact that you've got all of this stuff, and there again, there's going to be some of the people that I do get on as well who have gone from the big pharma companies like the Naked Pharmacy, Kevin at the Naked Pharmacy, have gone from these big major pharmas, like one of the top 3s, top 5s, to now having purely natural, without your binders and your fillers, so that's going to be another fascinating chat in itself. But that was the reason why, for me, that put me on that path was because of Dad and just seeing how much he was suffering. So
and it does help. It does help. But
it's just a case of and just being able to inform people and bring people up to speed and say, well, hold on, because there's a lot of people out there that aren't aware of some of the things that are available from a natural perspective, because they're just like, I don't feel well, I'm going to the doctors. The doctor says, here, take 2 of those and call me in the morning. You can't even do that nowadays because you can't get an appointment. Don't get me started on that. Anyway.
But it's right.
Yeah, so
it is right, and so it can, medical and herbs can work in conjunction, but we need to find a root of what and start at the root to make sure you're cleansing or however. So when anything else on top, and the doctors are giving you this, that, and the other, but there is a root. There is there's a foundation to work on, and that's how we were brought up, and like I said, we lost it, but we've now come back to it. And we need to stick with it to make sure you're healthy, your well-being, and you're healthy. And it starts with your inner self.
Well, like I said, over the course of the Nattabox series, this is obviously only episode 1, but health and well-being is going to be like a big one in terms of some of the guests that I get on, from mushroom experts, not just the psychedelics or anything either. There's a whole world to explore. So if I can just connect people with some good people who are knowledgeable and really do know their stuff, even if it's just 1 or 2 people think, never even thought about that. I'll give that a go, and it makes a difference. Then that's the most important thing. And finally, because I think we're actually running out of film. Well, not film, obviously, but in terms of memory. What's your go-to song? For an uplifting song, whether it's a case of you just want to feel good or you're having one of those days, what's one of your go-to songs that can instantly just help to lift your spirits?
Oh, for the life of me. Now that's one. I mean, I've got lots of songs that I, like The Best of My Love by The Motions. I got things like that. But there's one in particular, but for the life, I to search through my memory bank now for that. It just, Celebrate. That comes into my head, and it's by the Winans, the BB and CC
Winan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Celebrate New Life.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to go with Best of My Love, but
that's a real feel good track. Yeah, I Best of My Love is one of them. Yeah, but that's a good one.
So celebrate
new life.
Okay.
Along the Milky Way. I don't want to bust up them, Liam's things, but
Brilliant.
leave your cares behind.
Right then.
On the
Well,
Milky Way.
thanks.
All right, baby.
How have you felt? How did I do?
Well, you're very good. I listen to every night on the radio and stuff like that, thinking, oh, she speaks so well.
Thank
Not
you,
like her.
Jesus.
Yeah. That's
For the private education.
I do say that, but yeah, you make us proud.
Thanks.
Yeah, you and Ryan make us proud, man. And you've got your individual roots and ways, and you come together, and you and then you push me from behind, and you're looking after your daddy as well, and everything else. So, I think you're the blessing. You and Ryan are the blessing. The children, the children.
Stop it.
No, it's the truth. So it's the truth.
Stop it.
Well, because if you know the story, darling, the children have pulled us out of this, that, and the other, all sorts of things. So, but
That's
it's
what we're supposed to do. It's not education. No, they say
no,
that obviously as you
you've
get
got a
older,
brain,
then
your
children. Then there comes a time when we have to start looking after you. So that's all that is.
No, because we're not here. We're not here for you to look after us. We're supposed to be looking after you still. Till the day we go.
And that's why it's a blessing that me and Ryan wouldn't be in the position that we're in now, or doing the kind of things that we are doing, had it not been, like I said, for the love and the nurturing that both of you have given us growing up. So don't ever think, appreciate it, don't get me wrong, and I'm glad that you and Dad can sit there and be proud and everything, but no, it's we are always eternally grateful.
We didn't know if we got it right. We didn't know if we got it right, but you are an asset to us, and I think you shine for us, and I think that's what is the most important thing. So you're thinking, we look at you thinking, kids are all right, man. As Ryan would say, things got to change around here.
Well, on that note, do you want some dinner?
Oh, yes, please.
Do you want some coconut curried salmon?
Oh, yes.
I see yours. Mine's gone down, look.
You see?
Well, cheers. Thanks for coming on.
I'm ever so cheap.
Happy belated International Women's Day and happy belated Mom's Day.
Oh, yeah.
To all the wonderful women and obviously mothers out there as well.
All you ladies. Yeah. Don't let them say you can't. You can.
A warm and love jumper for you today as well. Mm-hmm. So thanks. Love you. Appreciate you, Mum. There we go.
Love
First
you
episode of Nattabox with me lovely
Mum. I hope
Mum.
I made sense, yeah.
You did. Did she do well, Dad?
Yeah, for once.
There we go. Yeah, we didn't hear too much cussing from him in the background. So, but basically, that's what Nattabox is all about, hearing people's stories, people who I find inspiring that I think can go on to help to inspire others. And as you've already heard, then my fabulous mom, Jaki Graham, is someone that inspires me every single day. So I wouldn't be half the woman I am today if it wasn't for you. So thank you for coming on.
Bless you.
And thank you for coming and joining us on Nattabox.
Oh, I've enjoyed it, I think, if I make sense. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Until the next time.
I'm going to stuff my face now and have a drink. But to all
Well,
of you, love to all of you.
I'm trying to do a professional
ladies,
sign-off, Dad.
Sorry.
She's just like this, all interviews. Yeah.
But love to you all, darling. Thank you for listening.
Take care.